Welcome back to another edition of the City That Never Sleeps show. I'm your host, Brandon Pockris, joined as always by my co-host, Ryan Toomey. Ryan, how are we doing on this fine Tuesday, April 25th afternoon?
Doing very nice. The sports world's treating me nice right now, so I can't complain. Not all my teams are looking good. We'll get into it. Can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, this might be our busiest show. I'm not gonna lie. Like the amount of news was already pretty big, and then we had the bomb get dropped on us, which is great. The draft is this week, and we're gonna be in AC to cover that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. NHL playoffs are they're fun.
Ramping up.
We'll get to our favorite series in a little bit, and the NBA, man. We got some fun storylines to talk about because some of these things happening. I'll be real with you. Probably some of the best first round series I can remember in the NBA in I'd say at least 5-6 years.
I can agree with you on that. I'm looking back at it, and once we get into it, we really will. But no, I do agree. It's some series we have not seen happen in a long time.
We got 2 hours, and I'm hoping we get to everything because that's not even including MLB, the MLB picks of the day, all those things. Also, you guys may notice blonde hair. Got that going for me. Filling in those who don't know, to me, obviously being one of my closest friends, he knows. We had our philanthropy week for our fraternity. We were raising money for the Huntsman Cancer Institute, and being the apparently outgoing person I am now, I volunteered myself to dye my hair blonde if we've raised $200. I did so because we've raised the $200. So if you guys are taken off guard by the hair, that's your reason. It's been a little bit different, but hey, it's all good. So jumping into our show, to me, I don't think there's any other place to start than the biggest news in the sports world to hit. we got Rob in the chat. Is Lindor hosting the show today? Looks good, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I wish I was nearly as good as Francisco Lindor when it came to anything, to be honest. But hey, Aaron Rodgers is a Jet. To me, it happened. It didn't happen after our show. It happened before. This got to be great news for us. Must be a good omen.
No, I will start. You are definitely a better host than Lindor, so I'll give you that. But no, wow, what shocking news to receive sitting on the couch randomly on a Monday. The news came out is what obviously we saw like Schefter's or someone dropped that they're getting back into talks. Don't know how long it's going to take, but we knew it had to be done before Thursday.
I mean, exactly. So to give you the storyline of how this happened, and we were making jokes, but of course it had that happen where I was in the middle of doing something Jets related, and then the trade occurs. So Sunday we get the news that, Jets, Packers, dialogue's restarting. In my head, I'm like, okay, deadlines make deals. Let's see where this goes. Let's see if they can actually get this done. Monday afternoon, obviously week of the draft, I want to get another mock draft out there. I make a 7-round mock draft with the Jets holding all their picks, trading back, go all in depth with this. I'm starting my article for it. One of my main sentences is the Jets have reopened dialogue with the Packers for Aaron Rodgers. But as of now, this trade isn't done. 2:30 to 4 working on this thing. Close my laptop, walk out to the car. Leaving the building where my class is. Literally see my one friend, walk to his car. As I'm about to walk to my car, I take out my phone. Boom, Adam Schefter. Jets have agreed to acquire Aaron Rodgers. Of course, one of the few days I write a mock draft, including Jets draft capital, the trade happened. So bad luck, Brandon. Back at it again. But in all seriousness, it finally happened. It's taken long enough. We said this time and time again, and we'll get into the specific details of the trade, what the quote-unquote winner of the deal is, how it affects the Packers, how it affects the Jets. But deadlines make deals. Green Bay needed draft capital this year for Jordan Love. They need to build around their guy so they know what they have in him. They need to build around him in order to see, hey, is this our quarterback of the future? Or do we need to gear up next year to trade up for a Drake May, a Caleb Williams, a quarterback in next year's class that some are considering is a lot better than this year's class? Are they going to need to maybe enter a rebuild if Love isn't the guy, to really focus on building out a roster that, let's face it, had a lot of deficiencies covered up by quarterback play over the past decade? That's where the deal needed to be done, because on the flip side, the Jets were in the driver's seat in a sense of getting this deal done. Obviously, you need Rodgers on the roster, 100%. But they needed him, and that's really it. They had the roster foundation. Worst comes to worst, the Jets would have used all their top 100 picks, their top 50 picks, and made their roster that much better. So that brings us to the trade compensation, where if I pull it up real fast, just to ensure that we know the specific details of the trade, obviously. The Jets acquired Aaron Rodgers, obviously, the number 15 pick in the draft, a 2023 fifth-round pick, which is number 170 in the draft. The Packers acquired the 13th pick, the number 42nd overall pick, so one of the Cleveland or Jets pick, 42, 43, was sent back in that deal. A sixth-round pick, number 207, and a conditional 2024 second-round pick that becomes a first-round pick if Rodgers plays 65% of the plays next year for the Jets. Hearing that compensation to me, what was your first thought?
My first thought was actually Rodgers better be playing 65% of the snaps. But no. Once we really get into it, it's worth it. It really is. I mean, what we swapped first, gave over a second. I mean, I'm surprised we even got their first-round pick for this draft. So I think that's pretty cool. I don't really think it changes much for the Jets. I don't think it really does. I guess the Packers get to build up a little more future with the picks, but I think it's a complete win for the Jets. Hopefully that means he's locked in for 2 seasons. Hopefully he's not one and done. Obviously that has nothing to do with it, but I'd rather have Rodgers for two years than 1, obviously. But no, as a Jets fan, happy with the deal, happy it finally got done, and cannot be upset with what we had to give up for it.
So in the sense of, who wins the trade? Legitimately, you could argue Green Bay does. In a sense, they jumped up from 15 to 13, allows them to get a better player in this draft class. And they acquired a second-round pick and most likely a pick that's going to convey into a first. Most likely. At worst, it's a second-round pick. You added those assets, as we said, to build around Jordan Love. You added them to ensure that your quarterback this year can be evaluated to see if he's the guy of the future or not. Now, if we add a little bit of nuance to it, if Aaron Rodgers is playing 65% of the snaps, we're assuming the Jets are at minimum a playoff team. At minimum, considering the weapons they have on offense. The fact that, guess what? They still have draft capital. It's not like they gave everything up. The fact that their defense was one of the best in the NFL last year, and quite frankly, should only be better if they make some other moves, some other additions. That first, you're assuming, is going to be late 20s or after. You're assuming a 25, 26. Guess what? If the pick is number 25 or 26, no Jet fan is going to care that they gave up that pick. And guess what? If that pick doesn't convey, one, Aaron Rodgers is probably going to play 2 years. But if he doesn't, and the pick doesn't convey, he retires, you still have a first. You're only giving up a second. I truly think at the end of the day, this trade is a win-win. Now, Green Bay may have the slight edge now, but the Jets could have the slight edge later, especially if things work out the way they're supposed to for them. Green Bay's getting the draft capital. The Jets are getting the best quarterback potentially in their franchise's history, or at least on the level of Namath in terms of talent. The Jets are going to be an immediate contender. Green Bay is able to build up their roster. I don't see a way where one team is just outright winning this trade. I feel like both teams got what they wanted. No team absolutely masterclass, fleeced, whatever word you want to say, the other. It was a trade that needed to get done, and quite frankly, it was the trade that got done.
No, 100%. I think the Packers are just in a great position too, because I think Jordan Love is that guy for the future too. So I think it helps getting the capital just so they can build around that. And even like you said, even if he is, I could be wrong there. They'll still have picks, and maybe they can snag a guy in the draft next year. But no,
So
there's nothing.
we got Jake in the comments saying Rodgers better win you guys the Super Bowl. Otherwise, it's all for nothing. I wouldn't say it's all for nothing in a sense of obviously you would be coming up short, but it's not like you gave up 3 firsts. It's not like you gave up the Russell Wilson package where your future is completely hamstrung for the next 5 years or the next 3 years. I forget the specifics of the deal. But the Jets are showing that they're going for it. They're going for it in this window with this young, talented roster. They're not sitting on their hands. They're not, forcing fans to be like, why didn't we go for it when we have Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Quinnen Williams, this very talented roster that, quite honestly, was just a quarterback away last year, or maybe a quarterback and another piece away last year. It's showing that they're going for it. And quite frankly, as a fan of a team, this team that hasn't made the playoffs in over a decade, that currently holds the longest playoff drought in all the 4 major professional sports, I don't think as a Jets fan you can ask for anything else. They're going for it. They got the guy. They got Rodgers. They're going to be playing on primetime. They are going to be one of the more popular and interesting teams in the NFL this year. That hasn't been the case since 2009, 2010, when we were basically in elementary school. To put it like that, it's been that long. It's been so long that I've gone from elementary school to basically writing about the team. And in that entire time frame, there's basically been one season where they had a shot to make the playoffs. That's Jets making the playoffs, Jets competing, Jets being one of the best teams in the AFC. That's all I can ask for right now. Obviously, the Super Bowl is vital, and that would be amazing. But there's so much variables year to year that you can't immediately put it Super Bowl or bust. It's just you can't do that.
No, I agree with you, but we do have to expect something big.
Of course, I'm not.
Especially with a guy like Rodgers.
I'm not saying, oh yeah, it's fine if the Jets go 9-8. Of course not. I'm just saying it's so hard to be like, oh, they have to win the Super Bowl or everything else is a failure. That's rough. That's rough. Oh, we're gonna get to that comment. Oh no.
Hopefully, it's not obviously he's a much bigger talent than Brett Favre was when Brett Favre came to the Jets and did what he did. But I think it's gonna be way better than that. I think the team around him is way better. But it's interesting. That's gonna be the main comment, though. The comparison to Brett Favre and what he did with the Jets.
It's like deja vu all over again.
Yeah, right.
Shout out Yogi Berra. We got a comment from the man 23, the man _23. Alan Lazard is playing with him again. That connection's great, especially with Lazard not having to be the number one, especially with Rodgers having, let's face it, a plethora of weapons compared to what he's had in Green Bay the past few years, at least. I think the Jets offense is going to be high flying. That's something I haven't said in years, but I'm excited for that. I also said Titans gave the house to trade AJ Brown. I mean, I wouldn't say they gave the house because I'm pretty sure it was only they didn't exactly get a lot in return, but that trade still hampered them a lot. We have Jeff who made a comment. We're not there yet. That's a very hockey related comment that we'll get to after some of the football talk. But the answer to that question when we get to it is a resounding no. That is not happening.
No,
that's not happening. I did not. That is not the terms of the deal, mister. But with it being draft week, like I said, the Jets still have capital to use. And perfect timing, guess what? I made a mock draft.
There we go.
A mock draft about, the Jets' updated selections after the Rodgers trade. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read what I wrote, and we'll talk about it. So this was through PFF's mock draft simulator. Honestly, I would advise you guys to use it, whether that or ESPN data analytics or sports analytics. There's a bunch of great mock draft simulators. It's a great way to simulate what kind of happens with the draft, the different positions that the teams put in, and things along those lines. So picking number 15 overall, interestingly enough, without me having to trade down, trade up, both Broderick Jones and Darnell Wright fell to the Jets at 15. Basically, that's giving you the sense of there is a scenario where even by moving down 2 selections, the Jets still will be able to get a top-notch tackle. And looking at their roster, they do have depth. They do have guys at these positions. The problem is a lot of them have been hurt. A lot of them have dealt with injuries. You don't want to rely on that again, especially with Aaron Rodgers. You want to make sure he's protected. You want to make sure he is able to play at the top-notch level that he can. Broderick Jones or Darnell Wright, I think you can't go wrong with either of them. I personally like Jones better. I think he offers a bit more athleticism. I think he offers a bit more upside. And I think that he actually has a bit of a higher floor than Darnell Wright. So that was my first selection. And then we got to the second round pick at number 43. I actually made a trade in this spot because looking at the Jets draft selections, they have 15, 47, and then 112. They do not have a third round pick. And we've talked about it here on the show. I personally think the Jets have some other needs they need to fill, whether it's at linebacker, safety, edge rusher, running back, receiver, you name it, even developmental guy, a quarterback, center. There's needs. And I just think the Jets need a few more picks, 1 or 2 more picks to really fill out those needs. So I traded the Commanders the number 43 overall pick and a 2024 fifth round pick. And exchange got the number 47 overall pick and the number 97th overall pick in this draft. The mindset, Jets are all in. If you want to capitalize on the depth in this draft instead of the high end talent, you're only moving down 3 spots and you're getting a third round pick. It works out well. With that pick, I'm with BJ Ojulari, pass rush specialist, only 21 years old, add a lot of juice to the Jets, both in the present with Rodgers and would give them a talented edge rusher to pair with Jermaine Johnson in the future. 97, went with Jordan Battle, the safety out of Alabama. The Jets need a safety. I don't understand why they haven't signed one. Drafting Battle gives you a stable presence. He can play in the box. He has good coverage skills. Would be a nice compliment to Jordan Whitehead and Chuck Clark. Would form a pretty nice 3-headed monster at that position. Picked 112. Jets need interior defensive line help. Went with Kobe Turner out of Wake Forest. He performed really well at Wake Forest. He had, according to PFF, high pass rush grade, high run stop grade. He did it all. He's a bit undersized, but playing next to Quinnen Williams, playing next to John Franklin Myers, Jermaine Johnson, Ojulari, he won't have to deal with as many double teams. And I think him in those one-on-one situations even as a rotational guy, he would be able to provide some talent. And then the last two picks, 143, 170, I picked Andre Yosevas, the receiver out of Princeton. In my eyes, if the Jets are keeping Corey Davis, this can be your wide receiver 5, your developmental type guy, where he ran a 4.3 40. He has speed. He's 6'2", 200. He had over 10 contested catches in college this past season. He has some run after the catch ability. It's a guy that could be your number 3 in the future. Aaron with Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, even McCole Hardman in the future allows you to probably move on from Corey Davis after this season if the Jets are keeping him. And you're adding more depth to your wide receiver room. Maybe Yosefas even plays a role on special teams in a sense. And then my last pick, I went with Oluwatimi, center out of Michigan. I was surprised he fell to this pick, but with the Jets re-signing Connor McGovern yesterday, the biggest Jets news of the day, the Jets don't have to draft a center at 47 or 42 or wherever they're picking in that second round. They can wait on a center. And Oluwatimi gives you depth, and honestly, maybe halfway through the season, if McGovern's struggling, even in the 2024 season, he gives you that future option at center. So I didn't go quarterback in this draft. I didn't go linebacker. Linebacker, I feel like you can probably pick up a guy late in free agency. Jets haven't really prioritized that position. Maybe they prioritize it later in the draft, get a kind of speed guy that can chase people around the field in that kind of Kawan Alexander role. I didn't go developmental quarterback. In all honesty, would probably look at Dorian Thompson-Robinson out of UCLA. He wasn't on the board. The only guy really left on the board was Stetson Bennett, Tanner McKee, and I kind of, in the win now window that the Jets have, wanted to focus on adding to the roster and not really picking a guy that just sits, because worst case scenario, you let Zach Wilson do that this year and you pick a guy next year. That's kind of where I fell with this mock draft. Obviously, you don't know everything that's going to happen. So I'll toss it back to you, Toomey. What do you think? What would you have gone with a different position at a different slot? Would you look at some other guys? What are your thoughts?
Well, I just want to tell you that was a great rundown, man. Very informative.
Thank you.
You had explanations for each pick. And it obviously shows you did a lot of research. So I commend you for that. That was great.
I try. I gotta watch more film, but
the big thing with me was I did a little, I have a lot less knowledge of this than you, but I went O-tackle first. I don't know. I think of I didn't even know they signed McGovern. That news must have been brushed under the rug. But I went, I don't know. I had O-tackle first, and I had a couple guys, but Paris Johnson Jr. was there if he falls, or if he's still there at 15 maybe. And then with 43, I had Jack Campbell. I don't know. I like him linebacker if they go with that route. I think I like the nod, but no, it made a lot of sense. I mean, wow, that was good. You surprised me there.
I freaking love Jack Campbell, and maybe I'm in the minority with this. I would absolutely love it if the Jets picked him. That's your CJ Mosley replacement. You stick him in the middle of your defense, he takes over next year, and you can play him next to Mosley because he has the athleticism. I'm a big fan of Campbell. And Paris Johnson or Skoronski, I'll be real with you. If those two guys are at 15, which I don't think Skoronski or Johnson make it, you've been hearing rumblings that Johnson might be going top 5.
Wow.
Johnson Jr., I think he could be even better because the difference between Jones and Johnson and Skoronski have played guard. They have versatility. They'd be like a second ABT in that Jet scheme with all the injuries they've had. That's what you need. You need guys that can play the different spots. And then when it comes to like third round, I mean, there's so many. The wide receiver class is honestly, I would rather have a guy in the third round, fourth round, fifth round than the first or second. I think the depth guys, you can get better value then instead of really outside of JSN from Ohio State. You can You can get a better Jalen Hyatt in the third round. You can get a better, Zay Flowers in the third round. And when I say better, I mean better value, better, allocation of resources in that sense.
No, from what from what I've seen and what it sounds like, there's guys that you can get late in the draft who are they put up similar metrics to the guys who are getting drafted in the first round and the second round for positions specifically like receiver and running back, where years ago you would have been like, get a guy in the fifth round, and they don't compare at all. But I mean, the guy from what round did you pick, the kid from Princeton?
Joseph lasted until the fifth round. And what's crazy enough,
4-3, and he's going in the fifth round.
Exactly. But it's because he played at Princeton. The competition level isn't there. He's inconsistent with some route running. The Jets have the luxury of picking a kind of developmental guy, especially if you're keeping Corey Davis on a pay cut. You don't need this immediate contributor. And those type of guys exist. Like, for example, you can compare a Zay Flowers to Josh Downs. Now, I love Zay Flowers. I actually watched some of his games, Boston College, absolute stud. But Josh Downs, get him in the third round, you're probably getting similar production from him. It's that value proposition. And I am just, especially with this draft class, depending on who's there at 15, I'm hammering premium position. Interior D tackle, edge, OT. That is just crucial for the Jets' success. I mean, if you wanted to have fun with it, the Jets don't need it. You could always go corner first round and just have the best secondary in football. Maybe move one of your guys to a safety spot. Like, of course, there's the different options. You could go JSN at 15. I don't think he makes it there. But the Jets, with the Rodgers trade now being in place, they're going to be all in. That all-in window is completely open. With McGovern being signed, that second-round pick is open. Honestly, I'm a fan of the trade down. I want a third-round pick in this class because I like the depth better than, the high-round
pick
picks.
too. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And with your idea, I mean, damn, you did your research. Again, still, I commend you. Your knowledge on this is awesome. And you have your little, it's kind of like a GM simulator you got going there with the PFF mock draft. That's pretty cool.
I'm not gonna lie. I probably would get ripped apart for the trade because that is such the all-in move. Did I probably have to give up the 5th round pick next year? No, probably not. I probably could have found a way to keep it. But I was so adamant on getting another pick because that pick, you're getting the safety. You're getting a guy that you need for that defense. And maybe the Jets go a different route with that pick if they make a trade like that. But, I think it's important to have just, even if it's not a pick in every round, a pick in every round from 1 to 5 or 1 to 4. I think that works too. So we got Don in the chat. What's up, Don? Hope you're doing well. Congrats on getting Rodgers. Hello, Green Bay. Have fun in the basement. I mean, hey, could be a battle between them and Chicago. Crash for Caleb. I'm gonna start that hashtag. That's gonna be me. I'll call that now, Toomey.
There you go.
Crash for Caleb. Dive for Drake. DIVE for Drake because Drake may as well. We got Ryan. Another Ryan. Will the New York media get to Rodgers? Is he going to get bothered or disheartened if he's doing bad and they get under his skin? I think he's kind of already dealt with a lot of media spotlight, considering, some of the off the field stuff, considering some of the different things that he's gotten into. And, he has his platform with McAfee. He goes on McAfee. He's able to talk there. And I don't think that – and being a part of it, by the way, I don't think the New York media is this big, bad entity that just runs people out of town. Look, man, at the end of the day, and this goes with all media, if you're bad, people are going to be critical. If you're good, people are going to praise you. If you're somewhere in the middle, the reception's going to be half and half. I don't think Rodgers, and yes, he has had a tendency to be a little bit sensitive, but I don't think the New York media, especially in like modern times, is this entity that's so much different than national coverage. Because it's all, if you really look at it, a lot of it's the same. A lot of it's truly the same.
No, yeah, my point for that is this is a guy who's been in the spotlight ever since he's been in the league, or since he started in the league, and he'll be fine. He's not a guy that looks on and scrolls on Twitter, you know what? He got paid. He's not gonna care. He just wants to keep playing football for at least 1 or 2 more seasons, I believe. I think the only thing that could possibly get to him is the fans in the stadium, because they're gonna speak louder than he'll notice that way more than on Twitter.
Yeah. By the way, question of the day. I got very into the draft talk that I forgot to pull this up. Jets will not draft an OT at number 15. Agree or disagree? This question for me is predicated on how the draft board falls. If Jones, Skoronski, Wright, or Johnson, Jones, Skoronski, or Wright are there, one of them, I think they take a tackle. If not, I think they trade out of the pick. That's the two-pronged answer I have with this. If a guy that they like is there, they're taking him at tackle because they need it. And if he's not there, I think they trade out. Maybe look at an Anton Harrison, a few picks down, recoup some assets later in the draft.
I like it. I said I'm sticking with my gut. I had Paris Johnson or Skoronski as well, so I'm going with no to the question. The Jets will not draft a no tackle.
So I think
they
disagree.
Will.
You think they will? So it's disagree.
Yes.
Yeah. We got Frank in the chat. Glad Rodgers got out of Green Bay. The AFC is going to be crazy. Man, the AFC itself is going to be nuts. Guess what? On top of Lamar, which for now is still in Baltimore, Burrow, Herbert, Mahomes, Allen. Guess what? You add Aaron Rodgers to the mix. You take another NFC quarterback and you put him in the wild, wild west that is just the AFC. And now the NFC literally has like 2 teams competing. It's very interesting. It's very interesting how much of a gauntlet is. And that's why I said earlier in the show, you can't consider it Super Bowl or bust. There's too many good teams in this conference. In your own division, there's too many good teams. Let's not count out Miami. I think they're better than Miami, but it's not by much. There's too many talented teams in this conference that you can't be considered Super Bowl or bust. But I could be for damn sure this team's going to compete. And this team, I think, is going to be a playoff team. We got Ryan once again. Is the offensive line in front of Rodgers very good? Is that a strength or weakness? This is what we talked about with this mock draft, right? As it stands, I think you have a decent O-line, but improvements are necessary. You can't leave it as is. And what it comes down to is not talent, but health. Max Mitchell had blood clots. Mekhi Becton hasn't played in 2 years. Dwayne Brown is 38, 39 years old and just had shoulder surgery. Elijah Vera Tucker got hurt in the middle of the year. You can't just go status quo and be like, guess what? Everyone's going to be healthy again. That's how you have Mike Remmers starting random games late in the season. That's how you have your 5th string offensive tackles starting games late in the year. You can't have that when you're all in. You can't have that when you have Aaron Rodgers under center. I mean, you shouldn't have that when you're trying to develop a quarterback either, but it's even more paramount to protect him, to protect your quarterback when it's a talent like Rodgers.
I think that's the main reason why I think they're going O-line first, just to give him security as much as possible. Because, again, he's an old guy. He's not going to get hit and get right back up like he is when he was younger. And we noticed it in the past couple of years with him. He gets hit, he's laying there for a second or two longer for sure. And the main goal with him, we waited so long to get him, protect him as much as possible. I want him to be the least hit quarterback in the league next year.
The hits only get worse as you get older, and they don't feel good when you're young in the first place.
And the only thing I could say was take a page out of Brady's book where he was a talent his whole career with getting hit as soft as possible. You notice that he I don't know how he did it with his body, but he was a mastermind of making hits a lot less impactful than they were.
1,000%. We got the Observer Sports saying they'll absolutely draft an offensive player first. That I fully agree with, even if it's not offensive line. They're drafting offense. They're focusing on making this offense the best it can be. He said, I believe they will be smart, though, and trade down. Rodgers' stat line. That last part of the question is tough. I am going to personally wait until after the draft because I want to see what they add. I want to see what they add on the O-line, maybe even skill position-wise. So I'm going to hold off on that till probably until next week's show. Fantastic question. Being smart and trade down, it all depends on what is at 15. But to build off that, I think they are going to trade down from their second round pick. I think whether it's 15 or 42, or 43 at this point, they are trading down from one of these picks. They have to. You have to recoup some draft capital that you gave up. It's smart business. I agree with this.
No, it is. The so much draft talk. I can't. My mind's swirling with draft right now. There's so much going on. I've been doing mocks all day.
It's only going to get worse, man. It's a few days away.
Yeah, right. Oh my God, I do really like the Rodgers stat line question. We should really prepare something nice for that.
Oh no! Once we see, like, let's say, like, because here's my thing: if the Jets draft a guy like JSN, my predictions for Rodgers go up. They go up probably by a good 400 yards, because him and Garrett Wilson on the same team, ridiculous. If the Jets draft O-line too, the stat line probably goes up because I'm like, okay, they got this guy. He's going to be protected even more. I have more faith in the offensive line. It's just like the overall picture, it's missing a few puzzle pieces right now. That's I'm definitely going to prepare that because I want to see I want to predict it when I know the full picture.
Yeah. No,
and
for sure.
when I say full picture, after the draft.
Yeah.
We got Don saying the schedule maker has to put Jets Bills week 1 Sunday night. I've been saying Jets Giants Monday Night Football 9/11 anniversary. I think that's the move. My dad, when I've talked to him about this, he thinks it's going to be back-to-back primetime games, Giants on Sunday night, Jets on Monday night. He wants Jets Eagles, which that's the first game of the of the season for the Jets. That's something. What do you think? What do you think about that week 1 prediction from Don?
That's a hell of a prediction. I mean, I saw a stat. The Jets haven't had Sunday night games since 2012, which I find that hard to believe. I can't believe I've never noticed that.
Yeah, and Schefter said they're going to have
6 prime times.
6 prime times.
6 prime times. That's absurd. But no, I like that one, and I like the Jets Giants, Jets Eagles. I wouldn't want to play the Eagles because they're going to be hungry week 1. They're going to come out like a bull in a cage, whatever, bull riding. But
yeah, and Eagles roster has 2 first-round picks, by the way.
Yeah, no, that's. I guess for matchup-wise, I'd rather play the Giants because I think we can handle the Giants. The Jets can, but no, they're all going to be. It's going to be interesting to see Jets on primetime.
I'm not going to know how to handle it. It's been so long. It's been so long.
Yeah, not Monday or Sunday at 1 anymore.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, we got Greg in the chat saying he disagrees with the poll. Joe Douglas knows the importance of the Lions. He said this in the press conference today. He said they're always looking to add to the trenches. They're going to add to the trenches. I'm convinced of that. To what capacity, though? That's always the key. We got Ryan once again. Gordy nailed it on the show last night saying injury is going to be a concern because if something does happen to Rodgers, the Jets are screwed. That is a very valid point. Jets currently don't have a backup quarterback. If something happens to Rodgers, it's Tim Boyle or Zach Wilson. So that's where the importance of O-line protecting Rodgers becomes paramount. Don says, Will Levis going number 1 or 2? We will get to that in a little bit. I wouldn't recommend that personally, but his odds have consistently gone like this and
Yeah,
up and up, and I'm really interested to see
climbing.
if that's smoke. I'm interested to see if that's smoke or not, and we'll talk about that in one sec. We got Ryan once again. Jets should focus more on players who make an immediate impact over pure talent or quality because it's more about Rodgers 3 years or less. Jets must win now or within 3 years, get players who will be as helpful and make an impact now over long-term solutions. I'll be honest, that's the comment right there. I couldn't put it any better myself. Legitimately. That's the comment right there. That's it. Well, you agree with that?
It makes more sense than the two. I mean, 3 years would be awesome with Rodgers for sure, but no, it makes sense. I mean, the mentality is obviously win now.
Yeah.
That's over, no doubt about it. Get players who I'm right. I mean, that's a winning aspect. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
It's simple as that.
Is it that simple though? That's what we'll see.
We also got the Observer Sports. Would you make an argument that Bijan? Oh wow, oh man. Would you make an argument that Bijan would help within the trenches? He's the kind of back that improves your line with his patience and instincts. Oh my goodness. Bijan to the Jets. That would be very fun. It's just like the only thing stopping me from wanting that is you have Breece Hall. And it's like, are you drafting Bijan to essentially be a kind of slot receiver and running back? Or are you turning Breece Hall into that? Like, that's the only thing because, man, that would make their offense fun. That would be
Rodgers does like his dump offs. He really does. And he likes.
That's such a luxury pick, though. If the Jets
a slap to the face to the rest of the league right there.
If the Jets line had a little bit more depth, I would be like Bijan, absolutely. It's just like, that's tough for me because Bijan's incredible, man. I would selfishly I would love it because it'd be a fun pick, but man, I don't think they can. I don't think they can. If anything, it's a running back in like a second, third, fourth type mold. Jahmyr Gibbs would be fun too, but it's like that's tough. That's tough with your first round pick. That's a lot of Jets talk, my friend. We gotta keep the comments flowing. We will 100% get to them. We're gonna move on to some Giants talk because there are two New York football teams, and yeah, the Giants are in an interesting spot, and I have personally seen their mock drafts have been all over the place. There's some where I'm seeing them get, say, Flowers, Jordan Addison. I've seen Michael Mayer. I've seen cornerback. I've seen defensive line. I've seen edge, safety. The Giants are essentially one of those teams, in my eyes at least, and I haven't done a mock draft for them yet, where you could argue a lot of different positions. You could argue for them to pick a lot of different aspects, and you probably wouldn't get a lot of pushback with a lot of them. And it's not saying that this roster is a weak, because personally, I don't think it's that weak. But it's just saying a top-end guy at one of these positions would help the team in a lot of different ways. So with that being said to me, what position are you mainly targeting if you're the Giants, and why?
I think they got to buffer up the defense. I'm going cornerback for them. I really just think, just watching last year, the Eagles, or just thinking of the division, who they play twice. They play the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Redskins. Commanders. Jesus, I'm doing that. Commanders.
That's just second time in 2 weeks.
They have to find an answer for the weapons of the Eagles. I really think for the weapons around the league, you got to be able to cover Devontae Smith, AJ Brown twice. You got to cover CeeDee Lamb twice. You got to cover Terry McLaurin twice. Commanders have a lot of weapons too. I mean, I think the best possible way for them to enhance their roster the most is to get a lockdown cornerback who week in and week out can cover the top guys in the league, because that was some of the issues last year we noticed. The Eagles rolled over them. You could probably find a ton of positions that looked terrible in those games against those teams, but I think the best case scenario is cornerback. I mean, we saw it with Sauce Gardner this year. How much the Jets defense changed just having a lockdown cornerback who could match up with anyone.
100% agree with you. The only thing is where the Giants are picking in the draft. They're at 25. I don't know if one of the best corners falls to them. And then at that point,
yes, very true.
At that point, are you reaching? So according to Tankathon, 3-round mock draft, they have them taking Quentin Johnson at 25, DJ Turner at 57, and Jair Brown, the safety from Penn State, at 89. I think that's a great expectation, would be a great mock draft, a 3-round mock draft for the Giants. Quentin Johnson, what does he do? We've talked about it. He adds size and speed to that receiver room that doesn't have a lot of those two things. He is that difference from a Wan'Dale Robinson, from a Paris Campbell, from these other guys that they have. When it comes to corner, DJ Turner is a great prospect, but he's not a guy you're taking at 25. He's a guy you could take in the second round and feel good about improving that secondary. Jair Brown, in a sense, you're adding to that safety room. We got the Observer Sports, Giants drafting receivers, bar none. They need one in the first round, then they go corner in the second. Exactly. The main needs for them have been, I feel like, well documented. It's just a matter of what they go with first. I don't think they personally need tight end with the addition of Waller, but a guy like Michael Mayer gives you another weapon. Wouldn't be opposed to it. I personally think you could get a fine tight end in the 4th round. I personally, for them, wouldn't want to wait on receiver because if I'm the Giants, I want that bigger size and speed guy earlier in Quentin Johnson than waiting on him. But at the same time, at pick number, let's see what it is, 57, if like a guy like Cedric Tillman's there, I'm okay with that. The problem is he going to be there? He's a highly rated player. You're not reaching for Tillman in the first round, but he might not be there when you want him in the second round. That's where picking secondary help, corner, safety in the second and third round is probably a better allocation of resources than reaching for the 6th best corner in the first round, where Christian Gonzalez, Devon Witherspoon, Joey Porter Jr., those top 3, you could argue you could argue another guy or two maybe being in that spot, but corner is going to be a heavy focus. Deonte Banks will probably be gone as well, another talented player. Would you rather pick the 5th or 6th corner in the first round or wait to pick the 7th or 8th in the second? I'd personally rather wait, still get a difference maker at a better value, and go a different position in the first round.
No, that makes sense. I did have a question for you too. So I see Giants have 11 picks in this draft. If you can add that up, I
was just reading a comment from Ryan.
Yeah.
Talking about the
Giants QB coach.
Giants QB coach. I mean, look, between him and Dable, they've done great work with Daniel Jones, and I'm excited to see how Jones improves this year because I think a second year in Dable's system, we could see an even better Daniel Jones. But back to what you were saying.
My question, 11 draft picks. I'm curious if you've even looked into it or had any ideas of it, what picks they could possibly move down with, or if you see them doing that at all.
I would propose something different.
Okay.
And this goes to your point. Why not rule out, or not rule out? Why not a trade up?
Yeah.
11 picks in the draft. Giants sitting at 25. What's to say they don't jump to, I don't know, 20 where Seattle is, or a 19 where Tampa Bay is, if those two teams maybe want a few more assets and want to recoup some more picks to build out their roster, specifically Tampa Bay, who needs all the roster help they can get. from 25 to 19, guess what? You have a much better shot at getting one of those cornerbacks. You have a much better shot at ensuring, if you're focused on receiver, that you're getting your guy. And having 11 picks in the draft, you're able to build upon that. You don't have to completely evaporate your assets comparatively to the Jets. The Jets can't really do a trade up. They only have 5 picks in the draft. 11 picks. As a contender, do the Giants really need to make 11 picks? No, I'd say probably more in a 7-8 range. That's where that comes into play. It's not even necessarily about a trade down. It's you either, in my opinion, trade up or convert some of these assets this year into assets for next year to further improve that roster.
And obviously all of it's decided as the draft develops. These are all game-time decisions on draft night. But 11 picks, that's good. Good to have. I mean, for a team that, hey, they can turn those 11 into 6 picks and move it as far up as possible, because there are a lot of teams that need to rebuild.
Yeah, exactly.
It seemed like one of the best teams that have the best amount of assets to move up, in my eyes.
100%. And with the draft being Thursday, and as we mentioned, we will be live in Atlantic City covering the draft. I just want to go over maybe a storyline you're looking forward to, or something that you're maybe watching to see what might happen. I want to hear one or two from you. I'll give one or two. Obviously, don't want to go too in depth with the overall draft stuff because we're going to be live again in 2 days. So with everything standing the way it is, what's the one or two storylines that you're looking at and why?
I believe the comment has to, I think it was Don before.
Yes.
Talk about Will Levis.
Let me fill that up.
It has to do with the quarterbacks. Where, when, and to whom are the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks going? I think that's the biggest talk of the draft. And it's gonna make or break some of these teams' futures for the next 3, 4, 5 years. I think that's the biggest story.
I think to build off that, because I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's not a Jets or Giants big storyline that I'm looking for. Obviously, we talked about that, but that's not tippy top. It's what happens with CJ Stroud, draft centric wise, and this is all one for me because I have one more that's team related. What happens with Stroud? All of a sudden, all the hit pieces coming out about, oh, he's going to be a bust. This guy says this. We see this every year with the same type of quarterback. It sucks, but it's very it's not surprising to me. What happens with Bryce Young? That's more my long-term outlook. Does he actually go number 1? Is that all smoke? And how does he fare being one of the biggest outliers, size and height and weight wise, at the quarterback position that we've ever seen in the NFL? Does Anthony Richardson go top 5? Does he go top 10? That I feel like should be solidified top 10 minimum, but we've seen crazy things happen. And is the Will Levis stuff smoke? Is he actually going to go number 2? Is he actually going to be the second quarterback off the board? Does Hendon Hooker, as the Observer Sports says, go in the late first round to a team like the Vikings? I think that's probably the closest thing you have to a lock. I think Hendon Hooker is going to be pushed into the first round because a good team's going to want to sit him and let him develop for a year. The Observer Sports says it's going to be CJ and Bryce. Richardson will be taken 3rd, then Levis, then Hooker. That probably should be the order or very close to it. I'm not on 100% sure because you don't know what's true and what's not true when it comes to Stroud. We see this all the time. The guys get killed in the media with stories, and all of a sudden they're the 2nd or 1st overall pick because teams were trying to push him down the board or maybe trying to throw out smoke screens to make other teams not consider him. We see this all the time. The Levis one and the Young one are probably the biggest ones for me, and then Stroud kind of tied there. But like you said, the quarterback position going to be very interesting. And that takes me to my second one. This is more team-centric. The wild card of all wild cards. What do the Baltimore Ravens do? It's too quiet for me, man. The Lamar stuff died down all of a sudden. It's too quiet. And then you hear the rumbling here. The Ravens are looking into Anthony Richardson. The Ravens might do this. It's very mellow. I know we're talking about teams that may be a surprise trade up. If the Ravens do that for a quarterback, I'm interested to see how it happens because I've said it every week. The Lamar Jackson storyline is the most interesting thing in football for me because of the talent level that he possesses, the ceilings he can reach, and the fact that the Ravens have low-key, high-key, however you want to put it, been carried by him at times in the past, I'd say 4 seasons. Those are my 2 storylines. What are the Ravens doing? How the quarterbacks fall in place? What's your second one?
My second one? I was curious as what pick do they have in the first round, Ravens?
The Ravens, looking at Tankathon, they are the 22nd overall pick in the draft. It's a steep jump. It's a very steep jump. But let's say Richardson or Stroud fall to 15, they could pull it off. They absolutely could pull it off.
Now, my next big thing that I'm looking for, I guess it's a prediction. I predict the Giants to move up from 25. I think they're going to trade up with one of the teams you spoke about before, and I guess it's not what I'm looking forward to, but it's a prediction. And I think they're going to snag either a receiver they really like or a cornerback they really like.
Yeah, I you know what? I think that's a solid prediction. I think that's a very solid prediction. We got the Zerber Sports. CJ Stroud has the least amount of bust potential of the entire draft. He'll go first. But this may be out of topic, but do the Commanders take or trade up for a quarterback? So 2-pronged question. CJ Stroud, I mean, outside of Richardson, who I just love his potential, I think Stroud's the safest quarterback. I agree with that. I don't understand where all this discussion about him suddenly being a bust has come from. I obviously, if there's more behind the scenes stuff, we're going to see that after he's picked, the night of the draft, all that stuff. But for me, looking at it, this seems so manufactured. This seems like some team putting in extra leg time or teams putting extra leg time to try to push Stroud down the board. And that sucks, but that's the nature of the business. And that ties into the second part where the Commanders are sitting at 16. I think the Commanders move up for a quarterback if a guy gets within striking distance. Let's say 9, 10, 11, where they're not having to trade up to 5 or 6 and having to give up an insane amount of assets for a guy that maybe they're not in love with. But if that range gets shrunk from maybe 12 picks to 5 or 6, that trade's more doable. You're not having to give up as many assets. So I think it's predicated on where that quarterback falls to. And hey, if a guy falls to them at their spot and they like him, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't pick one.
No, well, they're desperate need of one. And it takes them out of the race being at 16. But like you said, we've seen crazier things happen. I guess the biggest one is Lamar Jackson falling to the second round. Or at the end of the first, whatever, end of the first.
I was like, I don't know, man.
But no, and there's a ton of – you got 5 quarterbacks. And the draft is going to be predicated on where they go and when.
1,000%. So lots of NFL stuff coming up, evidently. As we said at top of the show, we'll be live in AC on Thursday. Very excited for that. That's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of interesting picks. I mean, Cardinals are going to be a wild card at 3. Raiders, Colts, you name it. Also, in terms of some of the Jets stuff, you can find more articles like the mock draft at Jets Insider. jetsinsider.com. Be having more stuff as the draft is going on. Articles about Rodgers, what the different draft picks might mean. It's exciting. It's an exciting time to be a Jets fan. It's an exciting time to be a football fan. This is one of my favorite times of the year. And we will have it all for you. Thursday, next Tuesday, lots of football stuff coming up. So very exciting. Hope you guys stick around for the ride because it's going to be fun. And speaking of sticking around for the ride, Toomey, I think it's time. I think it's time to talk about some playoff hockey. And yeah, I have to bring up this comment because love the hair. This is from Jeff. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Love the hair. Devils win. Is it going red? I will put it like this. You have a better shot of dyeing one side of my head purple and the other side of my head yellow than me ever dyeing my hair red for the Devils. I will put it like that.
We could switch it. If you don't want to wear the Devils jersey, if the Devils win, you could dye your hair.
Oh, no.
That's fine.
No. Dyeing my hair blonde, I love it, but that was enough. That was enough for me. This series is now 2-2. This has been one of the weirdest but fun hockey series I've watched. It's been very stressful on the chest cavity.
Yeah.
Because the past few games have just been, hey, let's keep it a 1-goal game for 30 straight minutes.
Yeah.
Or tied. The Devils lost both games at home. The Rangers lost both games at home. It comes back to what we said. This series is going 6 or 7. And honestly, flip a coin. That's probably who's going to win this series. Let's face it. That's the truth. We've said it from the start. These two teams are even. These two teams consistently play each other tough. You can throw out the first 2 games of the series. I think that was just the Devils and this is coming as a Rangers fan. I think that was the Devils getting their feet warm in the playoffs. An environment, let's face it, most of the roster hasn't dealt with. That most of their roster hasn't been through. Maybe like 3 guys on their roster have more than 2 games of playoff experience. They got their feet warm. They got comfortable. Jack Hughes is showing that he's a top 10 player in hockey. I can say that 100%. You know, their rookie goalie is showing out. He's going toe-to-toe with Igor, which Igor is playing incredible, and he might not even be the best goalie in the series right now. The Rangers offense is still getting opportunities, and I think the goals are going to come for them again, but it's gridlock. These two teams are battling, and I don't see any way that this game goes less than 6 or 7. I think it has to go 6 at this point. Yes. But I think it's probably going 7, and I'm worried about that for my health.
I mean, the main thing, I've just been looking at this. I'm just going to shoot you with some numbers right now. If I told you Rangers have 12 goals this series, Devils have 7, Devils have not scored more than 3 goals in a game, what do you think the series is?
The series is probably, in my opinion, like 3-0 or done. 3-0 or 3-1 or done.
Yeah. So,
but that's because the Rangers scored 10. They scored 10 goals. They scored 10 goals in the first 2 games.
It's a shock that the Devils are there, and my God, the first 2 games, you said it better. It seems like they're getting their feet wet. Jack Hughes spent more time on the ice with his body than with his skates. It was a mess. It took them till the 3rd game. Yes, the 3rd game to score on 5-on-5. But really, big things. I guess Lindy Ruff had a hell of a conversation with the team. In between, they switched up everything. Lines got changed. Goaltenders got changed. Akira Schmid, he's been, I guess, the lucky charm right now for the Devils. He seems confident in there. No sense of nervousness out there. He's making the saves he's got to make, and that's all you can ask. Devils defense has really showed out the last 2 games. I think the big thing I noticed with the Rangers is that they just seem, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for?
A step slow.
A step slow. Their passing's more. They're not moving down the ice. They're moving across the ice. It's something flipped with them where they just look a step behind. In the first two games, they were just push, 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 shoving it down their throats, and it worked.
I mean, what do you call it? Gallant talked about it yesterday, and I agree. They got complacent.
Yeah.
They said, I mean, he literally said in his press conference they didn't show up. They were too worried about the linesmen and complaining to the linesmen that they just didn't show up. And I think that's what happened. They outscored Jersey 10-2 in the first two games. Going home, they got complacent. They got comfortable. And before you know it, series is 2-2. Now you got to find that switch again, and you got yourself a series now.
No, that's all it is, and it's going to be a finish to the end. The one thing I want to see from the Devils, maybe get 4 goals in a game. Maybe do it. Go for it. Push for it. But I can't be upset. They fought their hearts out. This is physical playoff hockey, and the Devils, no one on that team besides Andrej Palat and maybe Halla are used to physical playoff hockey. And it just took them some time to get used to it. I don't know. I've never been more excited and nervous for a sporting event ever, watching rather than playing. But I don't know. Nerves are there. I'm at a loss for words.
And I say this even with the Rangers losing the past 2 games. It's probably been one of my favorite playoff series I've ever watched. Just the highs, the lows, the tight games, and it's not like the Rangers are getting smoked in these games.
No.
They're competing, and even at their lowest point, they're taking the Devils wire to wire. And I feel like they're close. And I've said this to you. I've said this to other people. They're this close away from figuring out the rookie. They're that close, but at the same time, the Devils are this close away from figuring out. Like it's the seesaw, and one tilt this way can make it go down, and then the other tilt the back. Like it's the best type of sports to watch, because while it is very stressful for the fans watching, taking that step back, taking that step away from just being so locked in with your team, it's an incredible series. You could argue it's the best playoff series right now. And as a hockey fan, as a Rangers fan, and you as a Devils fan, that's all we could have asked for.
Yes. Yeah,
that's it.
In my eyes, if we go to the different series, but it's just heart pounding sitting on a couch. I think that's the worst thing. I think that's a sense of out of shape, maybe.
I will put it like this, and this is a good transition. As fun as this Devils Rangers series has been, if I had to deal with what Kings fans and what Lightning fans have had to deal with, and I think it's been their past 2 games, I'm probably not doing the show right now, because I'm probably like passed out on the ground from like crying. What series do you want to go to? Because
I was gonna say, well, then I was gonna transition into like this Devils Rangers, as good as it's been. It's not, I think, in my eyes, the best series that I've watched. I got to give it to Kings Oilers. That's been a roller coaster. 3 OT games, I believe, and comebacks, crazy comebacks in all of them.
Leon Draisaitl and McDavid are literally that team. It's ridiculous. And I'm adding Draisaitl because the Oilers literally were down 3-0 in the first period. And I had this game on. I watched the whole thing. I would whip my head around. 3-2. What? Hold on. 4-3 Kings. Oilers score with 27 seconds left. Oilers win in overtime. All right, cool. Like, it's just the Oilers what's the comparison? The Oilers are like the the Sacramento Kings of the NHL. They're like the early Mahomes era Kansas City Chiefs. They are going to give up goals, but they are going to score goals like there is no tomorrow.
So much easier than you will.
Yes. And McDavid hasn't even got going yet.
No. He's doing a job, but he's not like the main goal scorer. He hasn't been. He is still the playmaker. He's the captain of the ship. And that's what happens. You know,
do you know how terrifying that is? That McDavid hasn't even gotten going yet?
Yeah. Just wait for the game that he has 2 goals, 2 assists, and just has the puck and stick for a total of 10 minutes during the game. That's my series.
Crazy.
That is it. The Kings should every game. Kings have had a chance to win every game. And the Oilers have clawed and scratched their way back to surprising victories. That's playoff hockey. That's what we were talking about before. How exciting this can be and how exciting it is. And anything can happen. We've seen it. The game last night, perfect example of that. What you were just talking about before. Toronto, Tampa. Tampa had that game locked in the bag. 2-2. 2-2 is a lot better than 3-1. They needed that win. They folded.
I want to clarify. Was Toronto down 4-0?
4-1.
4-1. Okay.
4-1.
They stormed back from 4-1 and won. And now the Maple Leafs, the team that everyone considers the chokers, are up 3-1 on the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's a step, and that's scary because if that team – here's the thing. If the Maple Leafs get over the hurdle and they actually win a series, I'm terrified because that's like getting the cat off your back. That's getting the giant 200,000-pound weight off your back. And guess what? You're playing with house money now. Not in the literal sense, but hey, we are that good. We can overcome. We've dealt with that adversity. That a series between them and Boston.
Luckily, that's the Bruins have to deal with that.
That's
on the Atlantic side.
That's exciting. That's a very exciting series. Looking at some of the other series though, Carolina, they're taking care of business against the Islanders. I don't think there's anything really to say with that one.
No, Carolina matched up very well with the Islanders. I knew that from the start that the Hurricanes were going to roll right through them.
We mentioned Oilers Kings. That's tied 2-2. Golden Knights over Winnipeg. I'm not surprised by that one. But that brings us to the other Western Conference series. And I got to tell you, man, the Kraken are surprising me. I didn't expect this from them. These
games are on so late. And I haven't been able to watch this series, unfortunately, but I think the Avalanche got it. But 2 wins against an Avalanche team and 2 controlling the flow of the games. It's been a surprise. The Avalanche have been caught. Maybe the Avalanche were overlooking a little bit since how good the Avalanche have been playing prior to the playoff time. But Kraken showed that why they were a top team throughout the season. I'm looking at my list right now, and I've been pretty spot on with who I'm thinking or how it's shaping up currently. A big talk too when you really get into it. The Bruins, yes, they're up 3-1 against the Panthers, and they're going to win this series. They're missing 2 of their top guys right now. They're injured.
What's it? Bergeron and
Bergeron, and it was.
Are they missing Pasternak?
No, Pasternak's
I don't think so, right?
I hope.
Okay.
I don't think it's Marchand.
I think it is Marchand.
So Bergeron and Marchand. 2 of the guys who've been on that team forever, who've seen playoffs. Those are the guys you need on the ice during these type of games, but they should be good for the next series. But that's the thing. Playing injured against a Toronto team, if they fulfill their destiny right now, could be an issue.
I mean, we got very. I'm looking at my picks too. We got very similar ones. Obviously, Wild Stars. I feel like that's one
been a hell of a series too.
I feel like that's the toss-up series in the West. I'm still confident in the Oilers beating the Kings, especially with the momentum switch. I think that we've seen. But man, playoff hockey, fun, and I think that's a perfect transition into NBA because there's a series I want to start with, and it's not the Knicks. You brought up an amazing point. and we'll get to it in a minute. Gotta read something real quick, but there are some teams and one specific team that we need to talk about that have overlooked a specific opponent. And we got to talk about it before we get into the Knicks. But before that, Creative Window Design Center is serving New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Florida. They're a fully authorized Hunter Douglas dealer. Contact Jeff at 609-226-0391 for a free consultation. Also, all campuses giving 20% off everything in their store, including hats and shirts to all their subscribers. Make sure to get in on that. To me, my friend.
Yes, sir.
I think it's time to have a dialogue about the Milwaukee Bucks. Full transparency, right? We came into this and we said the Celtics, prediction-wise, I personally thought the Bucks were going to play the Raptors, whatever. They end up playing the Heat. The Heat were a team in the regular season that underachieved tremendously. And they currently hold a 3-1 lead over the Milwaukee Bucks. We did not anticipate Giannis getting hurt.
Yeah.
But Giannis was back last night in an opportunity to even up this series, to make it 2-2. And what proceeded to happen, I feel like, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, just a masterclass in what happens when you overlook an opponent for a series and what happens when you don't come to play. Also, on the flip side, the importance of having that superstar talent in the playoffs. The Heat, and by the Heat, I mean Jimmy Butler. 56 points? 56. Channeling his inner Michael Jordan. Barely shooting threes. Just asserting his will the entire game. And essentially, and I'll pull up the stat line because we were at an event last night, and I was just in awe looking at the stat line compared to the rest of his teammates. So as I'm pulling that up, what's been your reaction to this Heat Celtics series? Or Heat Bucks series.
It's
not Celtics.
There's not many words for it because, again, we said it last show. When was the last time 8 beat a 1?
You couldn't tell me.
What? We thought this series was going to be good anyway.
I mean, I think the last time I've heard of is the We Believe Warriors, which was when we were 5.
Oh, with
Baron Davis.
Baron Davis, yeah. They weren't. Oh, I guess maybe that's it. But we had this series good anyway. Yes, you made a great point. Giannis getting hurt, and it was affecting them last night too. But they had control of the game. They were up by 13 in the fourth at one point, I believe. They were up by 13. I think it was 89-76. And
yeah,
the will of one player. And Jimmy Butler, we've seen him in the playoffs, playoff Jimmy, and hitting timely shots. That's how you win basketball. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that the Bucks are going to make this a series. I don't see them winning in 5. Giannis is going to pull something out of a hat somewhere. I think the Bucks I like the little disagreeing. I like it. The Bucks are going to make this a series.
Jimmy Butler last night in 41 minutes, 56 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. He went 19 of 28 from the field, 3 of 8 from 3, and 15 of 18 from the line. He also had a block. The rest of his team, the top scorer outside of Butler was Bam Adebayo with 15 points.
Oof. Yeah.
You could argue that this man had probably one of the best playoff performances in Miami Heat history, which is saying a lot considering LeBron James and Dwayne Wade have played for that franchise. On top of that, you could argue that this is probably one of the best single player playoff performances ever. I think you can argue that.
You can, no. 100%.
I think you can 100% argue that. But it comes back to this. What was the thing we talked about after game 1 when the Bucks lost? And it wasn't about Giannis. I can tell you for a fact it wasn't about Giannis.
Jimmy?
Well, no. What was the
No?
thing I told you I was worried about Milwaukee? The thing that scared me.
Was it them overlooking the Heat?
No, the
What was
shooting.
it? Oh,
The
yes.
shooting.
Yeah. No.
It was the shooting from the supporting cast. Drew Holiday, 14 points, but 2 of 11 from 3. Brook Lopez, absolutely amazing game. Probably one of their best shooters, 4 of 7 from 3. Giannis, 26, 10, 13. That's a Giannis stat line. Even with some of the injury struggles he had, he's still going to be Giannis. That I agree with you on.
Yeah.
Chris Middleton, 2 of 5 from 3. Grayson Allen, 2 of 5 from 3. Pat Connaughton, 1 of 6 from 3. Bobby Portis, 1 of 4 from 3. Overall, as a team, they shot 33% from beyond the arc. Miami, by comparison, shot 41%. If you are Milwaukee, I do not care about Giannis in the sense that I know Giannis is going to perform. Giannis is not a choke artist. Giannis is going to bring his A game, whether he's healthy at 100% or healthy at 75 or 80%. The supporting cast has to hit their shots, and that has not consistently happened in this series. I get it. Jimmy Butler basically willed this team to victory. But if you're Milwaukee, the number 1 seed in the East, you cannot choke a 13-point lead. I'm sorry. You can't. For a team that has championship aspirations, a team that is supposedly better than a Boston team that's extremely talented, than a Philly team that's extremely talented, the Knicks, whatever team you want to name, you can't shoot like this because, let's face it, they shoot like this again, Miami's bouncing them in one of the next 3 games. Because Butler's going to bring his A game. The Miami shooters, as you said, are hitting timely shots. I think Miami's winning this either the next game or in game 6. I don't think it's going 7. And if it does, I still think Miami wins this series. I don't have faith in the supporting cast right now. And that's the thing is, are you asking Giannis, who's dealing with a back injury? And let's face it, back injuries for guys that are above 7 foot or very close to it are absolute hell, whether it's a stinger or a legitimate injury. You're asking so much from a person that tall to deal with back soreness. We've seen it with Embiid too. You need the supporting cast to step up. And I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it from Milwaukee.
And that's where my point comes in. I think the only concern for the Bucks right now is that they're down 3-1.
Exactly. And exactly. Especially with the way they've been shooting. I don't see. Hey, maybe the switch does get flipped. Maybe all of a sudden Connaughton's hitting 45% and Drew Holiday is hitting more than 2 of 11 from the arc. But is that going to happen when you have Jimmy Butler, his playoff version, playing lockdown defense? Is that going to happen where Bam Adebayo actually has a good game, when Kevin Love actually provides the shooting he can, when Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin keep shooting, Kyle Lowry off the that's the thing. Miami's guys haven't even played to their full potential. You're asking Milwaukee to elevate themselves, which they have. But let's face it, you didn't even get Miami's best punch, and you still lost. That's why I think the series is so far in Miami's favor right now. Because you have a Milwaukee supporting cast that, let's face it, hasn't really been fantastic this series, and it hurt Giannis. Well, I still think he's going to get his, but that little difference is gigantic in the grand scope, especially when a team's down 3-1. How many teams have come back from 3-1 in the past 10 years? The Warriors and the Cavs? And the Warriors again? It's there's not a precedent for it.
I just think my big thing is, hey, one, Giannis is that guy. As we all know, he's willed this team to victory before. And this unit that's there, him, Drew, Middleton, Bobby Portis, who's been so big for them in the playoffs in the past couple seasons. One of their best players in the playoffs, Brooke Lopez, Connington. These guys have all played together for so long, and they're going to figure something out. I truly do, that they're going to make this series close. I have no doubt in my mind, and you can rub in my face if the Heat do win this in the next 2 games. This game's going to 7.
You think it's going
these guys are going to figure it out. These
you think
guys
it's
are
going to 7? Okay.
I really
all right.
do.
All right. All right. We'll make a City That Never Sleeps friendly wager.
I was thinking right now I'm putting a bet on the Bucks to win the series.
Okay.
I would love to see those odds right now.
All right. I'll pull this up.
I just think that these guys have gone through so much, and they've shocked the world already, winning a championship a couple years ago, and they are. I don't know. I truly think that this team has just been. Giannis being hurt, that doesn't help. Trying to win a game without him, that's not going to happen, and we saw it.
So you think Milwaukee's still going to win the series?
I think they have a good chance to.
Okay.
This is Giannis' game. Giannis is going to be a top. I'm not going to say that right now.
All right,
what do you got?
I'm East playoff series right now. Wow, the series betting the Celtics are minus 10,000. So right now, your odds for the Milwaukee Bucks are plus 110.
That's absurd. I'm not betting on that.
Okay.
That's crazy. Plus 110, they're down 3-1?
Plus 110. Miami Heat are minus 130. In comparison, the Knicks are, and we'll get to the Knicks in 1 second, Knicks are minus 520 to win the series, and the Cavs are plus 400.
That's a faith the odds makers have on the Heat right there.
But I'll stick to my guns. I think Miami wins this series. I do. I think Jimmy Butler has another performance. Do I think Miami's making a far playoff run? Absolutely not. I don't think they blow a 3-1 series.
They are in the driver's seat for sure. And as a Knicks fan now, real quick, this is making you happy.
Oh, yes, it is. Because the Knicks in the regular season have had the Miami Heat's number. And they are, and I will put it like this, so much better suited to face the Heat than the Bucks. Great comment. A Butler going to tear the locker room apart if they choke a 3-1 lead. You might see an explosion from the locker room if the Heat choke a 3-1 series lead, because that'll just be the rage within Jimmy Butler. But that would hey, just for like meme purposes, that would be pretty funny. You would get
going to 7. It's going to 7.
I disagree. I think that's a perfect transition to your point. Yeah. The Knicks are up 3-1, and this series has gone kind of the way I've thought in a sense, but also I'm surprised by some things. And what do I mean by that? Well, number one, the Knicks' depth. It's been the difference.
Yeah, it has.
It's been the difference between Deuce McBride giving you good defense off the bench, between Obi Toppin, between Josh Hart, both coming off the bench and starting. RJ Barrett still can't shoot a 3-pointer to save his life, but man, that dude can drive to the bucket. He can get baskets. It's playing out the way where, guess what? That Cavs bench unit, they don't got guys. And when you have Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell playing bad, it's a recipe for disaster. Donovan Mitchell, who let the guy cook? Guy has been absent this series. Darius Garland has had one good half. So we got the Observer saying, I have zero clue what anyone was looking at when it came to Jalen Brunson. Don't then understand Villanova. Don't play. Put some respect on that program. Damn right, put some respect on that program. You could argue, you could call the Knicks the Nova Nova Knicks, the Villanova Knicks, because between Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson, those two guys they're the key cogs. They're the key cogs for this Knicks playoff run so far. Between Brunson being, and I don't know if this is a hot take, the best player in the series, and Josh Hart probably being the most important player in the series. And those are two very different distinctions in my head. I think the Knicks close it out in Cleveland? Maybe. But I don't think it gets past game 6 in MSG. The Knicks are winning this series, I think, in 6 at most. And maybe the Cavs are just out of gas and they lose the series in 5. But I firmly believe that the Knicks are advancing. You're not getting anything from Julius Randle, and that can be a conversation later down the line in the offseason. Obi Toppin, I think, is giving you better minutes. I do. Between the stuff he's doing when he isn't having the basketball, giving you some scoring when necessary. RJ Barrett, like I said, he's found his role. He's a slasher. He's not a guy that needs to shoot. Let Josh Hart, let Jalen Brunson, let Quentin Grimes, let Emmanuel quickly do that. Attack the basket. Take the advantage on guys that can't cover you, and look what happens. You have a phenomenal game. You get to the line 10 different times. I'm just very confident in this Knicks team. I don't know what's your perspective, because I've been thrilled with the way they've played this series.
I mean, touch on with Jalen Brunson. You just started with him. He was a top 3 point guard in the season, and the numbers show that. Maybe you see it from a different perspective, but numbers show that he was a top 3 point guard going into the playoffs, and it's shown. He's been such a big impact for this team, but it hasn't. And you make a clear point as well. It hasn't just been him. I mean, I think RJ Barrett to end that game the other night was very impactful, very big time plays, and I think I saw him make a 3. So I'll give him that. I think I saw him make a 3.
Yeah, it was on a Josh Hart walk.
But still, no, this team, could you say from looking at all the other series, the most put together group?
Yeah, I could argue
right?
that.
I mean, I'm sure numbers of players that are making an impact and doing great jobs. Like,
I think outside of Boston, you could say the Knicks have the most complete roster in the East.
And I think you can say that too.
And that's only because I don't trust Philly's depth as much as I trust the Knicks. Obviously, Philly has the more high-end talent with Embiid and Harden, but their depth, I think the Knicks have better depth, and they've shown that in the regular season too. And that brings me to this potential second-round playoff series if and when the Knicks advance. If they get Miami, I don't think that goes beyond 6. I don't see, and obviously I don't think it's going to be like, oh, the Knicks are going to win by 20 every game.
No.
But I think the Knicks have a better roster than Miami. And that's setting you up for a Eastern Conference playoff series, which I'll put it to you like this. The Knicks make it to the Eastern Conference playoffs, they might have to close down streets in the city for those games. Because Knicks fans are losing their minds in round 1. It's only going to increase. It's only going to get more crazy. But I think they match up good with Boston, as we've seen in the regular season. And I think they can handle Philly if Embiid is still hampered. That's the big thing. Where's Embiid's knee at? Him being hampered, him being injured changes the entire complexion of that roster. Can James Harden throw back the clock a little bit? I think the Knicks have shown, and I've said this on the show countless times, and I still believe it, they can compete with anyone.
Yeah.
They can, whether or not they're going to win a series, who knows, they can compete with anyone. They truly can.
I want to touch on, too, that it's a shock. I mean, these Knicks, when was the last time Knicks made an Eastern Conference Finals?
Made?
Yeah.
Honestly, Ooh, I'm thinking. I think early 2000s. Let me check that.
While you do that, I mean, it's all shaping up for them to give them an opportunity the best possible way. I mean, you got the Bucks down 3-1, you got the Knicks up 3-1. This team has depth, and as we talk about, that's a very vital, important part of this. And I just want to see the big thing. I mean, you touched on the fans too. I think for the fans' sake, the Rangers have to lose this series so they can keep their pockets nice and fat for Eastern Conference Finals time.
I want to laugh and say that's like, but that I mean, yeah, in a sense.
Because playoffs at MSG is rough, but no, like you're not saying anything crazy. I mean, maybe at the beginning of the year, if you're like Knicks making the Eastern Conference Finals, you'd be like, okay, easy, buddy.
If anyone told me that at the beginning of the year, I would have looked at you like you had 10 heads. Yeah,
like,
to me, I have the date, and it's going to shock you. I know. Continue your thought because I agree with you.
The Observer Sports made a nice comment. Go to it like it's. They seem.
This one
there, yeah. I don't see Miami being the Knicks, like you said, not enough depth. They can't have Jimmy Bucket scoring 50 every night. Being a Sixers fan, hopefully the Hawks take the Celtics 7 lull.
I wish. I don't think that's happening, the second part. But in all honesty, the Observer, if Jimmy Butler scores 50 every night, put him in the Hall of Fame right now. Put him in the Hall of Fame. He's the best playoff performer ever if he does that the rest of the series. Right? I mean,
Cavs LeBron, I think, has that, but
I mean, Butler would be up there.
Well, if he scored 50 every night, but obviously that's what is this?
So
I am thinking about my Lakers.
I have the date.
What is it?
The New York Knicks lost in the 2000 Eastern Conference Finals against the Indiana Pacers, 4-2. And guess what? That was the Reggie Miller series. Yeah.
That was that, huh? That was the last time the Knicks won the Eastern Conference Finals.
I think so. Yeah.
That just shows how long this city's been deprived.
And before 2021, the last time they made it, I think the last time they won a series, actually, the last time they won a series,
2012,
was the Melo years.
Yeah, down there.
So you got Knicks fans are going to be a little bit crazy, and I'm okay with that. I truly am okay.
Their own little, I think the Celtics last year were a 7.
What do you mean?
When they made the finals, what year was that?
When they made, I think that was a few years ago.
The Celtics. But besides the point, there's a lot of youth. There's just a lot of depth, and everyone's playing their role. I mean, there's not much more to say about it. I think I've said that like 5 times now.
Yeah, no, it's
everything's clicking, and they're awesome. A hot team in the playoffs, and that's all you need.
This is a great transition because looking at the rest of the East, every series is kind of taken care of. Not much to talk about. Celtics are going to win the series. Speaking of taking care of business, man, can we just agree to call LeBron the GOAT? Like, I'm sick of the conversation. I don't care what you need to say about Jordan. My man is 40 years old, basically putting up 2020 and basically
doing things that he's never done in his career.
Making Dylan Brooks his son. I mean, look, I've watched a lot of basketball. That moment last night and seeing it, LeBron James basically sealing the game by driving straight at Dylan Brooks after all the trash talk, mind you, and getting an and-one over him. Look, it's not one of the most memorable moments in playoff history. It's not anything like that. That's probably one of my favorite LeBron moments of all time. For me personally, just the context that it has, what it meant, everything that's happened, it was just incredible. It was amazing. I'm so happy that he's playing like this because our Lakers predictions looking better and better by the day.
It truly is. And yes, feeling very good about the Lakers. I got to say that. What a shock. I mean, give credit where credit's due. D'Angelo Russell down the at the end of that game, phenomenal. Really kept them in that with those 3 big threes. Within a minute, too. Minute time, 3 threes. That's big. Sadly, didn't get to watch it. We were at that dumb event. Or event, we'll say. But no, Lakers, I mean, this is what we said. Lakers stay healthy. Lakers are going to do good. Lakers are going to make some noise. And that's exactly what's happened.
You didn't get a good Anthony Davis game either.
No, what do you have? You at one point you had 7 points
12.
and 12. And you know what that
12.
means? That means next game he's going to come out and drop 30 plus with 15 boards. And hey, there's your bet if you want to bet NBA. Anthony Davis will be a menace next game. Rui, yes. Guys that have come out of the woodwork. And that's what we're talking. It's kind of like the Knicks in a way that the team's clicking. You have guys.
It's very similar. It's very similar because they finally got that depth.
And the Grizzlies have too much outside noise going on right now with all the Dylan Brooks situation and everything. They're just fall apart.
This is once again, this is another conversation for the offseason. Are the Grizzlies going to have to blow it up? Because I don't think it's as far-fetched as people think in the sense of, you know, you had the Ja Morant issues, the Dylan Brooks issues, you know, like there's been these like issues every year with this Grizzlies team, and they're not getting over the hump. And quite frankly, I don't think the West is going to get any easier, especially when you have to start paying these guys because they're coming up for contracts soon.
This was supposed to be their year. This was truly the year they were supposed to make noise. And obviously, issues at the end of the year. Steven Adams is a big loss. Ginormous loss. Probably top 3 important player on that team.
Yeah.
I'd say not because of his like point scoring stuff, but his impact defensively. That will always hurt you going to the playoffs. But no, you make a great point that, I mean, who's got to get – Jaren Jackson's going to get paid.
Ja's got to get paid.
Ja's got to get paid. Dylan Brooks does not have to get paid. This was their chance. Maybe next year, maybe one more year. But now the conversation keeps coming up. Is Ja the answer?
Oh,
have you seen this? It comes up to the point.
It has.
I remember seeing it last year too. The team was better without Ja, and you're seeing it this year too. The team clicks a little better without Ja.
Veteran depth and a leadership. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
But to your point, their record without Ja, very good. Ja comes back after the Grizzlies blow out the Lakers. But it's like, I don't. It's a stupid Patrick Ewing theory. It's like, oh, are you better when your superstar doesn't play? Like, I think Ja Morant is a fantastic player, but maybe he's not the right fit for this specific roster. And that's okay. Now, can you build a roster around Ja and how he is as a player? Yes. But are the Grizzlies going to do that, especially after what's happened in the past year? We shall see.
We shall see.
That is one of the main storylines. The Kings-Warriors series is electric.
Yes.
News came out. De'Aaron Fox is going to play.
Oh. Right.
Even with the fractured finger. I think that is vital for the Kings. The Clippers series, that's the series I want to talk about because the Nuggets, Timberwolves, I think that one's close to over. Kings, Warriors, all I got to say, incredible series, phenomenal trash talk, the Draymond drama, Sabonis, Fox talking crap to Green, Draymond Green being himself, as I've said. But the Clippers, man, I thought this series was going to be competitive. You saw the Kawhi game, the Russ game, and then the wheels just fell off.
Yeah.
And this brings me to and I don't know if it's a hot take. Is Kawhi Leonard one of the biggest what-ifs in NBA history?
You can make a point for that. You can make a point.
And I know the first reaction is, what do you mean? He won a championship. He's MVP type. The amount of games he's missed, the load management stuff, the lingering injuries, the all of a sudden sprained knee in the series when he literally went off for 30 plus in the first game. You could argue, and especially the Clippers tenure, that it's one of the biggest what ifs along with Paul George. What if they stay healthy? What if he stays on the court? Are the Clippers a title winner in one of these seasons? And it's not like Kawhi's getting any younger. It's not like he's getting on the court anymore. It sucks because he's such a talented player. He's so good at what he does that you're so many times, this is how I feel. So many times you're asking, what would it look like if Kawhi's out there, than actually seeing what Kawhi's doing out there. It feels like so much of the conversation around him's been, oh, let's add Kawhi on to this roster and see what happens. Then Kawhi's actually doing this on the roster. Observer Sports says, yeah, Derrick Rose is definitely higher on the list, but Kawhi's he's definitely up there for me. And I feel like that's a very underrated one that not many people are talking about now. But I'd say give it another year or two, that conversation probably is going to start.
I think it's you said it best before too. I think it's the biggest what if with his tenure with the Clippers. Because before that he was
Spurs, he was incredible. He led the Raptors to the playoffs. He's that
low-key two-time champion of
it's the Clippers tenure. And you could argue, is his Hall of Fame case now in question because of the Clippers tenure?
It is so easy to make the Basketball Hall of Fame. He's got that in the bag. That Raptors season put him in the Hall of Fame.
I'm not saying you're wrong either, but that's like those are the type of questions that I feel like you have to ask.
And obviously, I make it clear. Obviously, it's not easy to make the NBA Hall of Fame, but in retrospect, to all the other sports, it really is.
It's probably the easiest.
It is. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Is Zion on this list already?
See, that's more because the guy doesn't.
Okay. Because Zion's one of the best players when on the court when he's playing. He's never on the court.
Yeah.
I think, to the observer's point, you got to give it another year or two. If it becomes like 5-6 straight years of this, 100%. But the guy's still what, like 22, 23?
It's probably around there, 23, 24.
Right, like he's not like we're nowhere near him being out of his prime. But if next year comes and he's still dealing with injuries, and the year after comes and he's still dealing with injuries, then I think it's set in stone with that.
I mean, that team was supposed to be. People had them high hopes for them in the playoffs after how they performed last season without him.
They were phenomenal when he was on the court. They were a top 2 team in the West. And then it all fell apart because he got hurt.
It sucks to see it, but yeah, you do want your stars, and that's the big issue with the NBA: load management. What are they going to do with this in the future? Yada yada yada.
It does suck, but we got 10 minutes left. I figured we'd touch on some MLB stuff. I told you we're barely getting everything in 2 hours.
Yeah.
So MLB stuff, just to pull up standings real fast, talk about some different things. We got New York Mets game out first, 14-9. The Atlanta Braves don't lose baseball games. I don't understand it. We're going to go over our predictions and how they're looking, I'd say in probably a week or two. I think that's a great way to kind of analyze where baseball's at. The NL Central, the surprise of the season, the Pittsburgh Pirates are in first place. I put a bet down on them to win the division because why not? Brewers are in second, Cubs in third. Cardinals, my friend, it's not looking great right now. They're already 7 games out of first, and it's currently April 25th. Not good. Not good at all. NL West, Diamondbacks are in first. Dodgers are in second, a half game out. Padres, 1 game out. They're the best team in that division is 13-11. Dodgers are 1 game over 500. Padres are 500. In the American League, Rays are 20-3. They got out to a phenomenal start. Orioles are in second place, followed by the Blue Jays and the Yankees. We're going to have a discussion soon.
Yeah.
Yankees are already 7 games out of first. And I would not consider the Yankees to be a bad team by any stretch. But if we can get into it a little bit, I think their offense is having some struggles.
There's been a lot of issues.
Yeah. AL Central, Twins in first, Guardians in second. Tigers in third, but they're 8-13, followed by White Sox and Royals. I'm not shocked by anything there. AL West, the Rangers are in first, have a 2.5 game lead on the Astros, followed by the Angels and the Mariners, who are 4 out. Some of the division picks aren't looking too hot right now, but with 9 minutes left, I guess to toss to you just kind of quick hits. What have you seen with the Yankees? What's going on, and do you think they can improve?
Oh, they can improve because there's not much. Not much. I mean, what do you got? Since the last time we've spoken, I've gotten this. Yankees won 3 of their last 7. I think in their last 8 or 9 games, they haven't scored more than 3 runs. You could pinpoint, all right, that's an issue. Another big issue, they don't have pitching besides Garrett Cole. It really, truly seems that way right now. They've out of the last 7 games, they've won 3. He pitched 2 of them.
They need Carlos Rodon and Luis Severino back in
very
the
bad.
worst
Very
possible
bad.
way.
Again, we say it all the time, or I've been saying it. Too early to panic. 23 games in the season. The hitting we'll figure out. My big storyline, though, is Mr. Judge, too. Mr. Judge, obviously, they could be asking a lot of him. He's batting, I think, probably a 240 right now with 6 home runs. Big hitting storyline. Anthony Rizzo's batting around a 300 with 5 home runs, 11 ribbies, great OPS. The hitting's going to get there. The pitching's going to get there with the return of Rodon. My only worry is they just got to stay healthy. Because if they're missing Rodon and Severino for the rest of the year, I forgot about Nestor. Nestor's still solid, too. He's probably the other pitcher that won that last game, if I had to assume. But they play Minnesota tonight again. They got washed last night. Poor performance. Terrible. Time will tell. Next week, I guess we'll be able to see. Roster moves. Trevino might come back. Bullpen. You need more arms in the bullpen. It's obvious. And who else? One more name. Donaldson's still out for a while, but I don't really care for him. So,
quick hits on the Mets. The lineup has figured it out. Daniel Vogelback, looking at his stats, up to 250. Brett Beatty's been a nice addition at third base, hitting 238, but that's a lot better than Eduardo Escobar's 145. Francisco Alvarez, not hitting great just yet, but he hit a home run on Sunday. I'm a big proponent of letting the kids play. Let them get their at-bats. Let them figure it out. They're top prospects for a reason. They're going to figure it out, in my opinion, quicker rather than not. Brandon Nimmo's hitting, let's see here. I think he's at 350. 350 with a 955 OPS, playing incredible defense. You could argue he's an MVP candidate right now in the NL, along with Pete Alonso. Lindor is doing his thing on defense and offense. It's the pitching right now. It's very similar to the Yankees. You look at their starters as the stats load real fast. You got David Peterson with a 7.36 ERA. Tyron McGill with a 3.96. You got Dennis Santana with the 7.04. Carrasco, before getting hurt, at an 8.56. Curtis with a 4.35. Their bullpen, low-key, has been dominant, but between Carrasco, between McGill, between Peterson, you need your back of the rotation guys to step up. You need someone besides Scherzer and Senga to make a quality start. You can't have your and it's like the flip from the beginning of the year. You can't have your offense scoring 4 or 5 runs and losing games. It's just that's not winning baseball. But similar to what you said to me, I'm not concerned. I'm not worried. Obviously, it's something to keep an eye on, but you're going to get Scherzer back from the stupid suspension that, I mean, it's been talked about enough already. They need a consistent substance for the balls. Verlander's going to be back. You're going to have your 3-headed monster, Verlander, Scherzer, Senga, and you just need 2 of those guys to step up. So I'm excited. The Mets are having their pitching struggles. They're 1 game out of first place. And they had one of their best West Coast road trips in my recent memory.
They're missing 80% of their starters, so it's a good sign that they're still performing. Tough Giants series, but they'll easily bounce back from that tonight.
Yeah, so I am pulling up some MLB bets and going to give my MLB picks of the day. I've had, the luck of missing on one bet or missing on one pick. So looking at the games, Jose Budo starting for the Mets tonight against Josiah Gray. I'm going to take Mets money line. They're playing the Nationals. I'm confident in their ability to win this. Going to take the Nestor Cortez-led Yankees on the mound. I think they're going to win. Actually, my bad. I'm going to take them a 1.5 cover run line. I think they cover that. I think they hit a little bit tonight, even against Joe Ryan, who's one of the best Twins pitchers. After that, I'm going to take Diamondbacks money line against the Royals. And to round out the parlay, I'm going to go with the under in the Red Sox-Orioles game. So with that, a 4-leg parlay, $1 wins 5. Those are my bets of the day.
Sounds very good.
Yeah.
Sounds very good.
I'm excited for you to bring back some betting action. I've been missing it.
Yeah, I got to figure out what I'm looking into that yet. Because when I do my bets, I do meticulous research.
Meticulous research is good.
Oh, yeah.
It is
we really
good.
Focus on that. Maybe at the end of the semester, I'll figure something out for that.
Yeah, we can throw something together on the show. So
there we go. I like it.
Yeah. So on that note, we are at the end of the show, and we barely fit in everything we wanted to talk about. But thank you guys for joining us. Really loved the show today. It was a blast talking to you guys about the Aaron Rodgers trade, Jets draft talk, Giants draft talk, overall draft talk, hockey playoffs, basketball playoffs, MLB. Probably more stuff to get to, but we only get 2 hours. So catch us Thursday, as we said.
Yep.
We'll be in AC. More draft talk, more NFL talk. I'm sure there's going to be some surprises, some guys that slide, some surprise trade-ups. So we're excited to get into all of that. And make sure to catch us next time. We're going to be going over the draft. Whole draft will be done by then. Talk about who the Jets selected, who the Giants selected, maybe the biggest surprise selection in the first round, second round, so on and so forth. We'll probably have a closer resolution to the Rangers-Devils series. We'll probably have a resolution to the Knicks series, the Lakers series, and probably have a ton of other sports news to get to. So for myself, Brandon Pockrass, and my co-host, Ryan Toomey, thank you guys for joining us on another great episode of the City That Never Sleeps show. Toomey, you have anything else to say?
Go Devils.
Go Rangers.
Go Devils.
It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. We'll catch you next time.